Prologue: A fool and his stubbornness. How many times had he been slammed to the ground? He felt the hard, flat earth beneath him. A mix of blood and gravel made a mess of his mouth. His entire body burned like it was on fire. After so many blows to the head, his thoughts felt foggy and out of focus. His left eye had swollen shut. He heard a voice from somewhere high and distant, from someone looking down at him. I believe it would be futile to continue further. Subaru remained flat on the ground, limbs splayed, as he looked in the direction of the voice. He saw the violet-haired young man swinging the tip of the wooden sword in his hand. His mostly white ceremonial uniform did not have a single speck of dust on it, nor was he out of breath, nor even sweating. Only the blood-stained weapon he held detracted from his elegant mien. If you take back what you said and bow your head before me, I will leave it at that. Do you accept? It was the young man who had inflicted such pain on Subaru's body, relentlessly striking until he mercilessly drove Subaru to the ground. Each time he did, he would deliver his order for surrender again, as if some kind of rule demanded it. But Subaru's reply was set in stone. I'm not wrong. I'm not, bowing my head. Even with blood trickling from his nostrils in an unsightly fashion, Subaru leaned on his wooden sword and rose again. He coughed violently to spit out the blood clogging his throat. The difference in strength was clear. Everyone knew who the winner and loser would be. It'd take a miracle for Subaru to get a single blow in, let alone win. But he thought, yeah, like I care. You should take back what you. Subaru bit back the pain in his mouth and cut off his last biting words before charging forward too slowly, too late. He poured all his strength into one desperate blow. You can put everything on the line and it will never be enough. That is the difference between us, unchanged from birth. He smoothly parried the oncoming blow, and, after Subaru lost his balance, the young man slammed him hard in his chest. Subaru's breath deserted him, and the next moment, when his vision flickered, a blow to his face sent him tumbling backward onto the ground. The pain was tremendous. Amid agony so strong he forgot to breathe, Subaru stared up toward the heavens through his right eye. He saw the azure sky, high and distant, but nothing beyond it. It was so blue it made him sick. Subaru forced himself back to his feet and peered ahead, enduring blood-curdling pain with nothing more than his inexhaustible anger. But it was as if that anger was a diversion from whether he was in the right or the wrong in the first place. Chapter 1: Return to the Royal Capital. And last, stretch your arms high in the sky for the big finish: victory, victory. He listened to the giddy voices as he wiped the sweat off his brow. Subaru raised both hands high as he spoke his trademark phrase. A chorus followed, ending another morning's workout. The people who joined him in his exuberant radio calisthenics were residents of Earlham Village, the one closest to Roswell Manor. Probably half the village was present. Subaru's cheeks softened without him realizing it at the sight of the familiar buoyant faces. He wordlessly lowered his gaze a little, unable to watch them for a few moments. Subaru had suggested teaching Japanese radio calisthenics to help the village, where scars from the recent demon-beast crisis were still fresh. This had improved his reputation among the otherworldly residents and exploded into a village-wide movement. At first, Subaru had been worried about the lack of participants. But seeing the children who had been victims of the demon-beast attack enjoy themselves made him feel it was all worth it. The customs of his homeland were not to be underestimated. Radio calisthenics weren't the only popular tradition. Okay, you brats, line up. It's stamp time. Subaru raised his voice while taking out a raw potato with one end sliced flat. Subaru dipped the flat end into an ink container, then pressed it onto the sheets of paper that the queued-up children held out eagerly. The very in-demand potato stamp recorded that day's fruits of labor. So how about it? In another week we'll start the long-awaited, much-requested event, Monday Puck. The highlight will be those floppy ears. The kitty's so cute. He's wonderful. He's adorable. He'd stolen the potato stamp idea from radio calisthenics during summer break back home. A lot of kids had fun guessing what was going to be on that morning's stamp. Subaru thus used his oddly dexterous fingers to engage their young minds. After a time, his pleasant chat with the villagers came to a close. Subaru waved to them and went on his way. He approached a tree at the edge of the village square, wearily calling out to the girl leaning against the trunk in the shade. "Ah, that wore me out. Anyway, sorry to keep you waiting, Emilia-tan." "No, it's all right. I see you worked hard, Subaru." Emilia smoothed her silver hair with a charming smile, readjusting the hood she wore low over her face. "The villagers seem much happier these days, and it's all thanks to you, Subaru." "It's no big deal. I just showed them how to do some healthy exercises that get the blood flowing. But I feel bad making you come with me every morning, day after day." "That's okay. You're not in tip-top shape yet, and Ram and Rem can't come because of their work at the mansion. Besides, I really don't mind doing this." "As in, you don't mind spending your mornings with me?" "Pfft, not that. More like, I like being even a tiny bit involved with the villagers I never used to come in contact with. I think maybe, I drew a line between us until now." He could make out a small blush on Emilia's face under her hood. The lovely sight warmed Subaru's cheeks before he even realized what was happening. Lately, Emilia had often gone with him to the village as soon as she finished her daily chit-chats with the minor spirits, returning together after Subaru completed the morning workout routine. For about 15 minutes, he and Emilia would walk side by side on the way from the village back to the mansion. Subaru treasured these rare moments more than anything. "I have to say, though, you really get along with the villagers, Subaru. You're probably more famous than Ram and Rem by now." "Well, I am kind of the hero who saved them. Plus, I'm the ultimate gentleman who never asks for thanks, never brags about my deeds. I'm sure you'll fall in love with me all over again. I wasn't in love to begin with, mind you. Also, I think your assessment is slightly off." Emilia put a finger to her lips, tilting her head slightly with a conflicted look. For his part, Subaru was a little dejected at her brushing off his favor so easily. She continued, "I think that the villagers see you as oddly perceptive rather than a hero who saved everyone. I mean, you know some very mysterious things. So they're treating me like a well-educated professor, huh? But, besides aerobics, I don't know all that much. There's the games you play with the children, potato stamping. Also, mayonnaise." Emilia clapped her hands together as her eyes sparkled. She'd become a huge fan of the experimental mayonnaise Subaru had made at the mansion. Subaru, a natural-born mayo lover back on his world, had reproduced mayonnaise to put some zest in his meals. The sauce was apparently a smash hit with Emilia and the villagers. "I think they're underselling my hard work a bit, if they think mayonnaise and rescuing children from demon beasts are on the same level. I mean, I put my body on the line and everything." He'd gone into the forest to save the children, and got bitten all over. When Rem went out to save him from certain death, he protected her and got bitten, and he was about to be bitten some more when Roswell showed up to save him. "Ha! Come to think of it, I did, almost nothing." Thinking back on his exploits, they amounted to considerably less than he'd originally thought. Perhaps it was better to say that he'd been involved in many exploits, but his individual efforts had accomplished close to nothing. Sheesh. Don't worry about silly little things like that. But, Emilia-tan, everyone knows you worked very hard, Subaru. Roswell, Ram, and especially Rem, right? Subaru's expression remained pathetic in spite of Emilia's encouragement. She ran a few steps ahead of him and turned around. The sudden movement sent her hood falling back, letting her long, silver hair flow down her back, sparkling in the morning sun. "And me, too. Ha! I know very well how hard you worked. That's why we will have no moping. Understand?" Emilia tilted her head and asked, "Your answer?" The dumbfounded Subaru vigorously nodded his head. His reaction prompted a beaming smile from Emilia. "What was that?" "You were moving like a broken toy. You're always like that." This time it wasn't on purpose. And besides, you're 100 times more unfair. No matter how much I struggle, I just keep falling back in love, yes. I think you have very bad habit of glossing things over, like just now." Emilia wore a charming smile, oblivious to the sincerity of his words. Watching her put her hood back on and walk beside him once more, Subaru thought again that he'd never find a better girl than this. The gate of Roswell Manor had come into view during the course of their conversation. A few meager minutes remained until they arrived, and the regretful end to his morning bliss. There's a dragon carriage parked in front of the mansion. When Emilia paused beside Subaru and murmured, he stopped, too, looking in the same direction. There was indeed something like a horse-drawn carriage parked at the gates. It was something like because the vehicle was clearly not horse-drawn. After all, the creature pulling the carriage was a lizard as large as a horse. Subaru was so surprised at its sheer size, compared to lizards back home, that he wound up clapping his hands together. Oh, right, I saw those passing through the royal capital here and there. Dragon carriages, you say? Yes, the land dragon pulls the carriage that's behind it, so it's a dragon carriage. Wait, don't tell me it has a common name I don't know? No, I'm the one who knows nothing about it. I'm sure you're right, Emilia-tan. Have confidence in yourself. Really? You're not teasing me? You're not going to embarrass me by letting me use the wrong words in the wrong place, are you? If you're pulling my leg, I'll clobber you. Nobody says clobber anymore. When Emilia raised a hand in mock anger, Subaru clutched his head and pretended to recoil. Their antics continued as they made their way forward, arriving in front of the dragon carriage. Whoa! Damn, this is impressive. It's, like, so huge it's unreal. He'd seen these several times back during his time in the royal capital, but this was his first good look at one up close. The lizard that Emilia had dubbed a land dragon was indeed as large as a horse, but thinner and lighter. It looked like it had beat a horse in a foot race. As the two approached, a man stood up from the dragon carriage's box seat and announced, My. Please look out below. Before the startled pair's eyes, the man agilely leaped from the top of the seat to stand on the ground below. Subaru's breath caught a bit when he noticed he'd barely made a sound upon landing. The box seat was around Subaru's eye level, not a height to casually leap from. The old man bowed and spoke with eloquence befitting an aged gentleman. Welcome back. Please excuse me for currently occupying the front of your gate. He politely stroked back his solid white hair before donning an immaculately tailored black suit. Though advanced in years, his body was obviously honed into fine condition, and his aura made Subaru subconsciously stand up straighter. If this man was indeed the driver, and therefore a servant, the master he accompanied had to be quite the person. Thinking this, Subaru shifted his gaze back to the dragon carriage. The envoy is already inside the manor and possibly engaged with Marquis Mathers. The aging gentleman seemed to read their minds and answered their question preemptively. Subaru was unexpectedly at a loss for words as Emilia, standing beside him, stepped forward and faced the old man. Envoy. Could this be? As you have no doubt surmised, Lady Emilia, this concerns the royal selection. At the term royal selection, Subaru's head snapped up. The way Emilia's expression tensed had Subaru furrowing his eyebrows, suspicious about this turn of events. The man continued, I believe the envoy has an official message for you. Please return to the mansion to receive it in person. Am I being summoned? Please ask the messenger personally. The old man's discreet reply caused Emilia's face to harden as she lowered her head. Let's go. She began walking without even looking back at Subaru. He broke into a short jog to catch up. At the last moment, he glanced back and saw that the driver was still bowing low, silently watching them go. Welcome back, Lady Emilia. After the driver saw them off, the two arrived at the mansion's foyer and were greeted by a girl in a maid outfit. Remington strangely, emotions were absent from her high-pitched voice, replaced with calm formality. It was guest greeting mode, something Subaru hadn't seen much in the mansion lately. She'd been showing her smile to Subaru especially. Thank you. I'm sorry for leaving the mansion. It seems that we have a guest? An envoy from the royal capital is visiting. Master Roswell is engaged with the guest. Do you wish to join them? Of course. It's my problem, so he can't have me out of the loop. Rem nodded in response. Emilia began up the stairs. Subaru walked by her side, joining the conversation like it was a normal thing. All right. Just because the pressure's on doesn't mean I can let it get to me. I better pull myself together and not do anything stupid. He was pumping himself up. But seeing Subaru so enthused, Emilia halted. What is it, Emilia-tan? Suddenly all stressed out? Need a massage? Sorry, Subaru, this is an important meeting, so, I know that. That's why I'm getting my head in the game, and Emilia was finding it hard to let him down easy, so Rem dispassionately cut him off for her. Sister is already attending in the reception room. There is no place there for other servants. Understand? Subaru took in Rem's words and looked back at Emilia. You're kidding, right? I'm the one who's out of the loop. Sorry, Subaru. Rem, lead the way. Yes. Subaru, please return to your room. After Emilia's small apology, Rem spoke kindly to Subaru even while in work mode. Rem walked off to the upper floor with Emilia behind her. Subaru stayed in place and clicked his tongue. Well, I don't know much about this world, so I probably wouldn't be of much use anyway. He wondered if it was selfish that he still wanted to be a part of this. It had been approximately 1 month since Subaru had been summoned into another world. During that time, Subaru had taken it upon himself to favorably alter the destinies of the people with whom he'd become involved. Emilia was the first, but his rapport with the people in the mansion and the village was proof he'd done some good. In light of that, he was disappointed he hadn't been included in such an important issue. I'm being left behind here, literally and metaphorically. Of course, he accepted that his limited talents were the main reason why. But accepting that and giving up are two different things. What should I do, huh? Subaru Natsuki wasn't meek enough to simply wander back to his room and sulk in bed. He sank into thought, trying to cook up an approach to deal with the situation his way. Finally, Subaru's face twisted into an evil grin as he thought of something and snapped his fingers. Ding! Isn't it boring waiting out in front all this time? Maybe take a breather? The old man on the box seat widened his eyes in surprise as Subaru came with some tea. The dragon carriage was still parked by the front gate of the mansion. Forgive my rudeness. This is somewhat unexpected, and so, please watch out below again. With that, the aged gentleman leaped down from the box seat. Just as before, his landing was nearly silent. He continued, I shall do as you suggest. Certainly, my throat has become slightly parched. Well, then, here you go. I didn't know what you liked, so I just brought the most expensive tea I could find. The aged gentleman had a mild smile on his face as he accepted the tray. The expression deepened the age-appropriate wrinkles around his mouth. Subaru noticed, studying him intently now that he was close, when... Whoa, what the... Suddenly, a light impact from the side took him by surprise. He quickly found the culprit. The land dragon was poking its snout into Subaru's shoulder. The jet-black creature regarded Subaru with sharp, reptilian eyes. Its gaze felt strange, but not uncomfortable. Perhaps he simply didn't feel any hostility in those gentle eyes. The gentleman quickly addressed Subaru. My apologies. This land dragon is the finest one in our house, but, no, don't worry about it. Actually, I feel lucky to get so up close and personal. I am relieved to hear that. I must say, it is rare for it to react in this manner. After apologizing for the animal's discourtesy, the aged gentleman turned his blue eyes on Subaru as well. The boy's body tensed, as if he were suddenly at knife point. The gentleman continued. If I may ask, are those battle scars? These? Well, a bunch of things happened, but I wouldn't go as far as calling them battle scars. They are from the claws and fangs of beasts. That is why you are favoring your left side, yes. Subaru was surprised the old man could tell exactly what had left the white traces exposed by the rolled-up sleeves of his track jacket. It was true that Subaru had been favoring his left side ever since he had been injured. I am deeply sorry for my repeated offenses. It may not be a question you wish to answer. Apologizing in response to Subaru's silence, the aged gentleman took a cup of black tea and brought it to his lips. He commented, a fine taste. It has a considerable kick to it, I think. Well, I didn't exaggerate. It seriously is the most expensive tea in the mansion. I'll have a pink-haired maid on my case if I get caught for this. That was no hyperbole, either. Ram would have quite the lecture waiting for him if she found out he used the do-not-touch top-class tea without permission. The aged gentleman kept one eye closed as he appraised Subaru with the other. Now then, what do you want from this old fossil after buttering me up with such wonderful tea? Faced with the man's calm demeanor and shrewd discernment of his ulterior motive, Subaru could only tense up. As a youth, he knew he was sorely outmatched in this war of words, so he promptly raised the white flag. Ya got me. My name is Subaru Natsuki. At the moment, I'm an apprentice servant here at Roswell Manor. I'd at least like to ask what your name is. Acknowledging his status as a novice, he hoped to get his senior to offer a shred of mercy. Seeing Subaru meekly bow his head, the aged gentleman relaxed his expression. My, that is polite of you. I am called Wilhelm. I currently serve the House of Karsten, and that work has brought me to this place. Wilhelm, is it? Thank you very much. I'd be really grateful if you could at least tell me what brings you here. Would you like to come inside? I believe that the envoy is speaking about the matter? Well, yeah, but they won't let me in on that. It's no fun to be left out of an event and not advance the story, so I figured I'd approach it my way. He knew this was not a man to spill secrets about important matters. But gradually growing on people was Subaru's specialty. He wasn't just a delinquent without any talent for reading the mood. For a brief moment, Wilhelm was at a loss for words at Subaru's ambitious behavior. You remain level-headed at unforeseen developments, and when your motives are exposed, you do not cower but only grow more defiant. Such a personality will assuredly incur displeasure. So you're saying I can't even take a hint? As I do not know your position within this manor, I cannot carelessly run my mouth. I hope you understand. Wilhelm's expression sharpened for a brief moment, then softened as he politely brushed off the impudent request. If things continued this way, Subaru would just wind up making Ram angry. I will say, you do seem very close to Lady Amelia. It does not look like you are a mere servant. Really? Amelia Tan and I don't look like an odd pair to you? Tan. Wilhelm raised an eyebrow at the odd manner of address. Then, he smiled thinly as he realized the nature of Subaru's feelings. You walk a treacherous path indeed. She may become the next queen of Lagunica one day. Right now, we're just a super cute girl and a dull servant boy. With the infinite future ahead, you never know what'll happen. When you asked your wife to marry you, Wilhelm, did you think she was the loveliest woman in the whole world? My wife, Subaru's radical assertion made Wilhelm slip for a brief moment. He immediately nodded. I see. Certainly, it is just as you say. I think of my wife as the most beautiful in the world. I felt like everyone was staring at her, and I needed to woo her while I could. Pathetic, yes? You see? I'm like, if she has to end up with someone, might as well be me, even if I'm unworthy. It might take a lot of persistence, but that's my win-win ideal. You certainly act according to some very amusing logic. Fascinating, really. However, in the end I am a mere driver. I do not think I shall be of much service. I wonder. If you could tell it was Amelia Tan under her hood, I don't think that I'm just a driver excuse works very well. Subaru's flippant statement wiped the expression from Wilhelm's face and silenced him. The robe Amelia Tan wears is supposed to stop bad magic users from figuring out who she is. Plus, because of some stuff recently, a hooded mantle was added that makes it even stronger. People can't see who she is unless she wants them to, or they can break through the magic. The robe, put together with Roswell's magic, was an effort to nip trouble in the bud before Amelia's half-elf background could cause it. It was to protect her from the unfair handicap she had to bear, being born in her world. And you realized all that from the beginning. Very cunning. Oh no, it was total dumb luck. When I was pouring the tea inside the mansion, I was like, wait, wasn't that kinda odd? The color of Wilhelm's gaze changed as he watched Subaru smile very casually. At the very least, he probably figured Subaru wasn't just a tea fetcher. I suppose I cannot call myself a mere driver, then. As you surmised, I am indeed related to the royal selection, or related to someone related, I should say. Related to someone related. That's pretty much the position I'm in here. You and I are different, I believe, because my reason for involvement is not so romantic. Well, of course not, when you're married to the most beautiful woman in the world. I think Amelia Tan would beat her out for cuteness, though. No, even in loveliness, my wife has no match. Subaru had meant to make light of things, but the firm reply left him without a comeback. Wilhelm's cheeks seemed to slacken again as he successfully drove the riposte home. However, it would seem we are out of time. Ah? Subaru blurted like a dimwit as Wilhelm silently motioned to the mansion. That's Rem coming out with. Who is that? The familiar blue-haired maid was leaving the mansion with someone unfamiliar. Based on Wilhelm's behavior and their previous conversation, he reasoned this must have been the all-important envoy in question. I guess, objectively, this fantasy stuff is extraordinary. Perhaps he said that without thinking because the object of his attention didn't look like an envoy at all. The visitor noticed Subaru's gaze and responded with a teasing smile. Hey, it's normal to fall in love with a beautiful person at first sight, but don't you know it's rude to stare? The speaker was a girl with a lovely face, her flaxen hair cut semi-long. She was tall for a girl, almost the same height as Subaru. However, her figure was terribly delicate, and her every action terribly feminine. Everything just screamed girl at you. A white ribbon adorned her hair, and the sparkle in her wide eyes gave her the impression of an adorable cat. Indeed, atop her head were. Seeing them in person, I have to admit, cat ears do have a certain magic to them. Meow, meow. As if responding to his murmur, the animal ears, the same color as her hair, quivered. He hadn't had any chances to get up close and personal with a demi-human before. The genuine article was really a sight. Subaru had never felt such anguish before at keeping his inner fur connoisseur in check. As Subaru drifted off into the clouds, the girl turned to Wilhelm as he greeted her. Hey, Grandpa Will. Sorry to make you wait outside like that. It was boring, meow? Not at all. This kind individual deigned to engage these old bones in conversation, helping me pass the time quite enjoyably. Fun you? At the old man's reply, the girl put a finger to her cheek and tilted her head. Her cat-like pupils narrowed as she observed Subaru. After a supercilious inspection, she clapped her hands together and announced, "Oh, you're the boy Lady Amelia Meowchand." It was what she did next that caught him completely off guard. Don't move. It's time for a little inspection. Subaru was dumbstruck as the girl wrapped one arm around his neck, embracing him with her slender body. Since their heights were similar, her face pressed up to the side of Subaru's. The whisper of her voice in his ear made his body tingle all over, and he blushed in acute embarrassment. The soft sensation was accompanied by a curiously nice scent. The sudden turn of events froze him solid as he devoted every ounce of willpower to keeping his cool. Nom. Hiya. His efforts crumbled when he felt a single nibble on his ear. Laughing at Subaru's adorable yelp, the girl released him from her embrace with satisfaction. He hastily backed up, tumbling down onto his bottom. Tee-hee, what a cute reaction. Anyway. The flow of water mana inside your body really is stagnant. If only there was time to do something about that, meow. WHWH, what were you doing? Checking your body out a little. The bite was complimentary. Her glossy eyes locked on him as she provocatively bit her own pinky finger. Even knowing that she was teasing him, Subaru was still agitated and couldn't dismiss it as mere humor. Oh, don't blush so much. Any meow, I guess nobody's told you anything, have they? What do you mean? About what? About your body, and the deal, and things like that. Subaru's eyebrows rose as the girl seemed to be deliberately prancing around the details. Though he found it hard to ignore her peculiar disposition, he had to simply hang on for the ride. It would kinda help if you could tell me what those things are, you know. Oh, what to do? This is an important job, too. Tee-hee. Let us leave it at that, Ferris. Wilhelm scolded the girl for her excessive teasing. She pouted in response. THHBT. You're too serious, Grandpa Will. It's no fun. I am grateful to Sir Subaru for the tea, and besides, it is time to be on our way. Wilhelm bowed as he exchanged what somehow seemed like light-hearted banter with the girl. The girl still had a sour look about her, but she seemed to recover her humor as she winked in Subaru's direction. Zoe. You look like you could use some more teasing, but we're me out of time for today. If we don't get home soon, dear Lady Crush will be so worried she won't sleep a wink tonight. I don't want to ignore that first part, but who's Lady Crush? A name you'd better remember, she's the lady who'll rule this country someday. At the last sentence, her carefree demeanor vanished, replaced by total seriousness. Then she gave him the dumbstruck Subaru a little wave. Wilhelm set his empty teacup back on the tray. It was a fine drink. Well then, Sir Subaru, may you be in good health. Wilhelm agilely leaped back up to the box seat and took hold of the land dragon's reins. Well, sorry for no introductions, but Fairy's real busy. Later. Hey, wait. There's a mountain of things I still want to ask. You should take all that up with Lady Amelia. If fate permits, we'll meet again at the royal capital. Bye, meow. The girl left him nothing, her smile being the last thing he saw as she entered the dragon carriage. Realizing that his opponent had completely thrown him off balance, Subaru instinctively realized she was his mortal enemy. As Subaru held back his frustrations, Wilhelm cracked the reins with a brief farewell. The land dragon brayed while the wheels of the heavy carriage creaked into motion. It stomped the ground several times before taking a powerful step, accelerating rapidly the next moment. Before Subaru's eyes, the land dragon burst into a high-speed sprint down the road, kicking up a large cloud of dust as it sped off into the distance. Subaru, left in abject defeat, had only the scent of the high-priced tea, largely left untouched, to console him. And did you fulfill your duties as envoy? Well, of course. I would never fail to do anything my Lady Crush requests of me. Oh, Grandpa Will, you're such a worrywart. Servant and envoy conversed as the land dragon left Roswell Manor far behind. Wilhelm sat on the box seat, guiding the land dragon effortlessly. Behind him, the pale-haired girl poked her head out the window of the dragon-drawn carriage. In one sense, there were few places more suited to a private conversation. But I have to say, Grandpa Will, I didn't expect you to speak to that boy while you waited. You don't like talking to people, do you? That is a most grave misunderstanding. Oh, is it now? Zoe, it's just that you like slicing people more than talking to them, right? That is an even worse misunderstanding. She had only been teasing, but Wilhelm offered no elaboration. The girl pressed her lips together in a pout, displeased with the stony reaction to her provocations. You're no fun. What, it was more fun listening to that boy than your dear Ferris? He didn't seem that special, but you like him that much, meow? You think he's actually so strong he's hiding his abilities? Not so. He is an amateur, a cub without a mane. Nor does he have any talent worthy of mentioning. I am certain he is very ordinary. So why then, Grandpa Will? You said you hated riffraff meowst of all. Everything the girl said painted him in the worst possible light. In response, Wilhelm calmly raised a hand and pointed at his face. It's his eyes. Eyes? The girl lowered her head as she inquired. Wilhelm simply raised his gaze, thinking back. The lad's eyes interested me ever so slightly. They said he has crossed the boundary of death. Many come close to the line, stop, and draw back, but Wilhelm lowered his lids and thought as his words trailed off. Those are the eyes of one who has crossed once, no, several times, and returned. I know of no such being. You might say I was compelled by curiosity. But the girl blithely dismissed Wilhelm's expression of wonder. Meow, that doesn't make much sense, this time, Wilhelm answered with a strained smile. The girl continued, adding, but if that's true, Grandpa Will, that boys won't find an easy path to follow. The girl narrowed her eyes as she tossed her glossy gaze toward the broad back sitting against the box seat. Having the sword devil, Wilhelm van Astria, interested in you is as unfortunate as the witch having a thing for you. You're going to the royal capital, right? Well, I'm going, too. With the guest having gone home, those in the reception room were able to breathe a sigh of relief, an atmosphere thoroughly shattered with a single sentence out of Subaru's mouth. You see? Roswell's grin drew a fatigued response from Emilia. I suppose I do. Subaru wore a sullen expression at being left out of their exchange, which prompted Emilia to let out a sigh. Just so you know, I'm not going there to play around. This is an important summons, very important. It's the royal selection stuff, right? I know, it's a big enough deal to shake the whole kingdom up and everything, but I'm begging ya, take me, please. Subaru knelt on the carpet and brought his hands together in a desperate plea. Emilia seemed conflicted as she surveyed the reactions of the others in the room. However, do not mind me, I would say you are free to choose as you desire. This aroma. It can't be. Ram's treasured tea leaves? Barusu is truly capable of anything. Roswell washed his hands of the situation, grinning all the while. Ram, on the other hand, was preoccupied with shock at a sudden discovery about something, and barely registered Emilia's predicament. And Ram, the final person, said, taking him along is fine, isn't it? It seems that Subaru has acquaintances in the royal capital. He should visit them so they can rest easy. Until recently, Rem could be relied on to offer the most sensible opinions, but now she was solidly in Subaru's corner. Ooh, nice assist there. Reem, come over here. Yes. Answering Subaru's call with a flower-like smile, Rem sat beside him and offered her head. Subaru began to stroke her hair with a clearly practiced hand, making sure he would not mess it up. Rem's obvious pleasure helped Emilia realize she had no allies in this argument. In the first place, what do you intend to do by coming, Subaru? There'll be a really important meeting about the royal selection, so I'll have my hands too full to deal with you at all. On top of that, in a real sense, this meeting is different than all the previous ones, that's even more reason to go. I'll cry if I'm not involved at all in the critical moment that might make Emiliatan into royalty, even if it's way off on the edge of things. That's why I can't bring you. If you go with me, you'll try too hard again for sure. I don't want to make you do such a thing. Understand? You're the one who doesn't understand, Emilia. If trying too hard can help you, then I want to try too hard, see? I don't, with bewilderment in Emilia's eyes as she murmured, an awkward silence fell over the reception room. It was Roswell who broke the unpleasant mood with a clap of his hands. Yes, Yeez, that is far enough. It seems this conversation is not making any headway, so let us wrap things up. I have decided that Subaru shall accompany you to the capital. This is my command to him as his employer. Roswell? Roswell completely bowled over Emilia's hesitance. As shock made itself plain in her expression, Subaru raised a thumb in approval. Yes. You said it, Roski. However, Subaru is going to the capital strictly for medical reasons. All matters pertaining to the royal selection are strictly separate. Understand? Medical reasons? Subaru raised his eyebrows at the unexpected addition. He noticed that Rem's face, still resting against his shoulder, tensed slightly. Emilia wore a pained expression as well. In the course of your battle with the demon beasts, your abuse of magic ran your gate dry. Even if your physical wounds have healed, treating this affliction is a different matter. Surely you have noticed this yourself, have you, Newt? Just 'cause you say I'm in bad shape because of some invisible thing doesn't mean, Emilia cut in. Subaru. Mana circulating through the body is the lifeline of every living creature. When that flow stagnates, it retards the circulation of the very essence of life. Please, don't try to hide it. As Wilhelm had pointed out, he was still experiencing the aftereffects of his physical wounds, like his limbs feeling heavier than they should. Subaru scowled at having been found out so easily, but he couldn't just brush off Emilia's plea. I know my body's in rough shape. So how is healing it connected to the royal capital? Rem replied, because you need a top-quality healer to treat it. Subaru, did you meet the messenger? You mean the cat-eared girl? To be honest, not the type I want to bump into again, really. That messenger is an especially accomplished user of water magic, even by the standards of the capital. With such skill, it is no doubt possible to restore your health. As the child has various quirks, Lady Amelia went through quite some trouble to negotiate for cooperation. Roswell, wait a... That's Roswell, who'd apparently slipped up on purpose, feigned indifference to Amelia's indignation. Amelia Tan, seriously? For my sake? Amelia blushed furiously as she raced down her list of excuses. I mean, it's partly my fault that you're not fully healed, Subaru. You wound up at the mansion because you shielded me. And I should really have done something about the demon beasts, but you did that in my place. So this is paying you back, or compensating you for your loss, however you want to look at. Look, I know you're hiding your gratitude because you're embarrassed, but you don't have to put it like that. Subaru wore a wry smile as he crossed his arms. Sounds like you're all for me going to the royal capital. Why are you acting like you're against it? Because if I just came out and asked, you'd get carried away and do something crazy. I know what kind of mischievous rascal you are. No one says mischievous rascal anymore, Subaru murmured his retort as he pressed his hand to his neck. Amelia stuck out her tongue at him and the meeting drew to a close. Well then, the matter is settled. Subaru shall accompany you on your trip to the royal capital. Preparations will require about 1 day, so departure shall be the morning after tomorrow. Is this acceptable? Roswell's firm words were met by assorted replies from all assembled in the reception room. Ha, I understand. No objections. As you command, Master Roswell. And so, the plan for the Roswell household's visit to the royal capital was established. And 2 mornings later, Subaru's voice quivered with admiration at the gate of the mansion. Whoa, this is... Subaru beamed at the huge carriage parked before him. Of course, it was a land dragon that drew the carriage, but this one boasted a sheer size that put every other land dragon Subaru had seen to shame. He's so huge. And his scales are so hard. And his face is so scary. Amelia's lips softened into a slightly exasperated exhale at Subaru's exhilaration. He really is worked up like a little kid. Isn't he? She shifted her eyes to Rem, standing by her side, in search of agreement. But Rem gazed at the excited Subaru, enthralled. Subaru is cute when he gets like this. Do you not think so, Lady Amelia? Well, I do think it's cute, but... Subaru's been a bad influence on you, hasn't he? Amelia exhaled once again. Subaru, paying no heed to the girl's opinions, reached to touch the land dragon without a second thought and shouted in a strange voice. Hot damn! I'm so excited! I'm living the uber fantasy dream right now, aren't I? The land dragon's tolerance reached its limit around when Subaru lost himself in the moment and his touches turned into taps. A single sweep of its tail sent Subaru flying, spinning sideways. Several seconds later, Subaru emerged from the foliage, spitting leaves out of his mouth. What happened there? Subaru, land dragons are highly intelligent creatures. Even if they cannot speak, they can express themselves very well. That is why one must treat them with the utmost respect. Couldn't you have told me that a little sooner? Brushing the leaves off his body, Subaru observed the shockingly huge land dragon. It narrowed its yellow eyes and let out a long breath, as if saying, "That's what you get for running your hands over me." During the exchange, he finally caught sight of the people he'd been waiting for. Roswell and Ram were coming out of the mansion. Hey there, what's up? You're late, aren't you? You're the one who set up the schedule, Roski. The guy who sets the schedule ought to live by it, don't you think, Rem? I agree. Although, I'm the one who woke you up today when you didn't wake up on time. You may praise me for it, if you like. Okay, alright, okay, that's enough, Remington. Subaru stroked Rem while urging her silence after her unnecessary addition. That earned him a sharp stare from Amelia, but he bore it as best he could and dragged the subject back to Roswell. So why were you late? Everything looked in order at breakfast time. Ah, so sorry. You see, with Ram staying behind, I will not be seeing her for a little while, yes? Thayet is whyyyy. I simply wanted to have a somewhat thorough farewell before our departure. Roswell adjusted his collar, raising a finger as he excused himself. Beside him, Ram hastened to ensure her hair and clothing were also in order, plainly in high spirits. Okay, let's pretend I didn't ask. She's really gonna stay behind, though? It can't be helped. We can't leave the mansion unattended, and Miss Beatrice is here as well, so I must look after her. It's troublesome. You put what you really think at the end, huh? Oh well, Biko would have it rough if you weren't there to spoil her. I might point out that if Miss Beatrice heard that, she might smash you into little pieces this time. This trip to the royal capital was for Amelia, a candidate for the royal selection, and Roswell, her sponsor. Subaru was going along for medical reasons, with Rem serving and guarding the other three. The group totaled 4 people. That left Ram and Beatrice, who would presumably be holed up in the archive of forbidden books, remaining in the mansion. You gonna be okay here by yourself, big sis? It's not easy keeping a mansion running all by your lonesome. You do not understand, Barusu. People can survive 3 or 4 days without food, after all. No plans to eat your own food, huh? After Ram's lively, defiant statement provoked Subaru, she abruptly grabbed his collar and pulled him aside. Subaru's breath caught as her immaculate face drew close. Understand, Barusu? Keep a firm grip on the reins so that Rem does nothing rash. You're the one who always goes to the royal capital, right? Why is Rem coming this ti? It is infuriating you're forcing me to state the reason with my own lips. Ram shoved him in the chest, letting out a humph as she walked off. By the time she was gone and Subaru looked back at the dragon carriage, Rem was just about finished loading the luggage. It seemed the time for friendly banter had passed, it was time to get the show on the road. Biko didn't come to see us off, though. What a cold-hearted lowly. Subaru blared at the distant entrance to the mansion, cursing the absent girl. Of course, he had expected as much, leading him to mercilessly tease Beatrice the day before so he could leave without any regrets. Still, without her around to say goodbye, their departure was a bit lonely. But oh. His eyes met those of someone covertly watching them from the entrance to the foyer, open just a tiny crack. For a split second, the person in the dress recoiled at meeting Subaru's eyes, but she immediately reopened the door so he could see her more properly. It was as if she was trying to hide her sullen, forlorn expression. Subaru waved at her with little smile thanks to her typical behavior. In response, the pale-faced girl waved at him like she was shooing him away. She returned inside a moment later, having fulfilled her duty to see him off with minimal effort. When he turned back, Amelia was looking down at him as she leaned out of the dragon carriage's passenger cab. Subaru? What is it? The others had begun to get aboard without him realizing it. Subaru hurried over and reached for the doorframe. But white fingers reached out to him right before he could take hold of it. Here. Subaru hesitated for a moment before taking her hand. She pulled him up as he entered the cab. Now that Subaru was aboard, Rem nodded from her perch on the box seat toward Ram, standing alone on the ground. She took hold of the reins. The land dragon began to gently tread forward and pulled the carriage along. Subaru poked his head out of the window to give Ram one final wave. Well, we're off. Let's both take care now. At least try to evade the blows if something happens, Barusu. I do acknowledge your talent as a decoy. I'm good for a little more than that, right? Such was their clumsy early morning farewell. The land dragon accelerated, and their speed began to rise quite suddenly. The mansion grew distant in moments, and Ram's figure beside the front gate quickly shrank. A moment before Subaru lost sight of her, she held the edges of her skirt and slightly curtsied. It was an exceptionally maid-like way to see someone off. I suppose that's picture perfect for how a cute maid should do her job, huh? When they entered a dip in the road, Subaru was no longer able to see Ram at all, and he finally sat down on his seat in the carriage and exhaled. He finally felt at ease enough to begin enjoying the comfort of riding the dragon carriage. The seat had a high-class feel appropriate to the expensive design of the vehicle, making for a surprisingly enjoyable ride given that the road was not an especially well-maintained one. Judging from how fast the scenery was scrolling past the window and his experience with cars from his own world, he guessed he was traveling close to 60 miles per hour. And yet the vibrations felt far lighter than one would expect, on par with a typical sedan. Roswell laughed as Subaru turned this way and that, seat creaking under him. My, are dragon carriages such a rarity? Hey, is Rem fine all exposed on the box seat with us going this fast? It's not like I'm worried about her falling off. But won't her hair and clothes be a huge mess by the time we get to the royal capital? Emilia cut in to reply. There's no need to worry, since the dragon carriage is protected by a blessing. Blessing? Yes, blessing. Gospel granted by the world itself when a life is born. There are numerous kinds, so there is no universal rule for them, but some species always receive one particular blessing. The wind repel blessing land dragons receive is one example. Wind repel blessing, huh? When a land dragon gallops, the wind doesn't affect it whatsoever. The blessing extends to the carriage connected to it, so it isn't affected by the wind either. And that goes for Rem sitting outside, too? When Subaru indicated he understood, Emilia replied with a satisfied look, very good. Then Subaru asked, so, Emilia-tan, what about me? Do I have a blessing? Being summoned to another world was supposed to provide cheat abilities. Certainly, Return by Death was a special power without compare, but Subaru still hadn't lost his craving for something special that was a lot less painful. I don't like to say this, but a majority of people are born without blessings. Also, everyone with a blessing is aware of it to my knowledge, so, damn it, no good, huh? Nah, I get it. Meeting Emilia-tan was the miracle granted to me by the world, huh? Yes. It'll be 6 hours until we get to the royal capital, so be a good boy and behave. Emilia-tan's so cold. Emilia and Roswell let Subaru sulk as they began to discuss what they would do upon arrival. It was serious business. Naturally, Subaru couldn't get a word in edgewise. Unable to get involved in the conversation, he soon began to get bored out of his skull. Emilia-tan, let me sit by the window. What's wrong? Motion sickness, huh? It happens a lot to people who aren't used to riding. I understand. I'll lend you Puck, so, I'm happy for the concern, but it's not that. And I'm not sure why you'd give me Puck for motion sickness. What, am I supposed to use him as my emergency barf bag? If it goes that far, even Puck might get upset, Emilia sank into thought, murmuring to herself, when Subaru shook his head. No, I just meant, Emilia-tan's too busy for me, so maybe seeing the scenery would take the edge off my solitude? At that point, a new voice cut in. Rem peered in through the small front window to the box seat. Well, if that's the case, you should come to the front here, Subaru. There's nothing to do inside the carriage if you're bored, right? Here, you can see the sights, and I'll be glad to talk with you. That is a very tempting suggestion. Emilia-tan, you won't be lonely with me over there? To put it plainly, I'll be completely, absolutely all right. Do you have to be that all right with it? Though the lack of effort to stop him gnawed at Subaru, he did have Emilia's permission to go. Since Subaru didn't mind, Rem, holding the reins, checked with Roswell to confirm. May I stop temporarily, then? The land dragon will not be able to run again for a short time, however. Why's it gonna take time, wondered Subaru. Roswell replied, because blessings are not omnipotent either. A land dragon's wind repel blessing, once suspended, cannot be reactivated for a brief period. Shall we stop for an early meal? Well, I don't want to ask you to do that. If I open the door while we're moving, it won't slow down, right? As Subaru rose and reached toward the door, Roswell smiled as he inferred Subaru's intent. If you have a certain degree of athletic ability, there is no problem, but if you fall, you will die. A little detour's no big deal. Wait up, Rem, and don't make an acrobat out of me here. I am concerned, but I understand. I shall wait. Come soon, come soon. At first, Rem looked worried at Subaru's suggestion, but very quickly sounded like she couldn't wait. Smiling thinly, Subaru rose to circle around the carriage to the box seat. But Emilia called out to stop him, handing over a belt attached to the wall of the carriage. Wait a moment, Subaru. Here you go. It's not that dangerous, so I won't stop you, but keep a good hold on this. If this is connected to the wall of the carriage, it's kind of like a seat belt? The belts are for when the dragon carriage tilts to the side. Use it as a lifeline. I'll take it back when you get to the box seat. Subaru gracefully acknowledged Emilia's concern and wrapped the belt around his right wrist. As a worried-looking Emilia saw him off, Subaru opened the carriage door and embarked on his short outing. It was strange how the scenery passed so quickly, yet he didn't feel any wind whatsoever. Like he was traveling inside a glass bottle. Careful to not let the uncanny sensation get the best of him, Subaru gingerly grabbed hold of the carriage's rail and wound his way toward the box seat. If nothing else, he had good spatial awareness. The footing felt precarious, but his movements themselves were smooth. This is really something. So this is what having a blessing is like. Subaru took in the mysterious phenomenon of his current world as he suddenly regarded the whole situation objectively. The wind-repel blessing affected the dragon carriage and everyone inside it. What would happen if something under the effect of the blessing touched something that wasn't? Feeling the desire to test his largely meaningless hypothesis, Subaru stretched his fingers up. Then, Emilia remembered something. Ah, that's right. Subaru, I forgot to mention, please don't put any part of your body too far from the dragon carriage. You'll end up outside of the blessing. No way. The moment after his fingers grazed the air, wind slammed into Subaru's entire body so hard he thought his hand would be ripped off at the wrist. The unexpected impact loosened his grip on the railing, and thus his support, blowing him straight to the side. Off the dragon carriage, obviously. Abu boo boo? This is bad, seriously bad, oh man. The wind buffeted him until he lost all sense of up and down. He would have smashed straight into the ground, but the belt around his right wrist snapped taut. Subaru's body floated parallel to the dragon carriage. Pain racked his wrist until it seemed like it would tear off. His life was literally linked to Emilia's lifeline. The fierce strain and the unlucky turn had already blanked out Subaru's mind, but head snapped up amid the ferocious wind when the high-pitched sound of a chain reached his ears. Right in front of him, he could see a silver-colored snake with large, round, spiked head. I'm gonna have nightmares again. A moment later, the snake wrapped around Subaru's body. He raised a pathetic cry at how much tighter it was than he expected. But his body was hoisted up just before he became roadkill. He floated up and over the dragon carriage with ease. At the apex of his arc, the chain released him and tossed him forward. Subaru saw Rem at the bottom of his revolving world. She held the reins and her morning star with one hand, extending the other to Subaru to guide him down. As he realized that his life had somehow been spared, Subaru reflected, I'll live a slightly quieter life from now on. Subaru, saved from a messy landing, promptly blacked out.